Jane and I are here today to honor Dr. Miller. As you can see, we have a book of memories, so we want to share some of them with you. I started working with Dr. Miller in 1983 and I retired in 2014. And did you know how many times Dr. Miller, Jane and I were both phone nurses at one time, and he would come up and stand next to you and you would be busy writing something and you'd think, oh, Dr. Miller, sure he has something he wants to tell me. So I'd look up and he would have nose putty. And it didn't matter what kind of a mood you were in or what you were going through at that time, it just made you crack up laughing, didn't it, Jane?
Yeah, it did. It sure did.
And did you know Dr. Miller wore Cheetos on his ties a lot of the time?
Yeah, he did.
Talking about his tie, did you know that the class showed up in the toilet in the employee bathroom? Did you know who found it?
I never did hear, but for sure, but probably Dr. Miller. You think it was him? Probably. I'm hoping.
Yeah. When we first started, one of the first few years, we were Eureka Family Physicians. We were in a building, and then there was a parking lot, and then there was the hospital. And it was probably on a winter evening. It was starting to get dark outside, and Dr. Miller had left to go over to see his patients at the hospital. And I was there picking up things, putting things away, just the last minute things before I went home. And I went into the kitchen where our coat closet was. And the coat closet, when you opened the door, it covered a window from the outside. So I went in to get my coat, I came back out, I went to shut the door. Dr. Miller had come back across the parking lot and saw me getting my coat and getting ready to go home. He came and plastered his face up against the window. I didn't recognize him. I screamed bloody murder. He backed away, and of course he was laughing, and I did not think that was funny at all. Did you know Dr. Miller split his pants?
Yes, and Pat and I, on our noon hour, decided we were going to get him a new pair of pants. So we walked over to Etc. and got him a pair of as-is pants. And they're short enough that they could be knickers on him. But anyway, he had a new pair of pants to wear. And how we discovered that this happened is all of a sudden that day he was doing this down hall 1 to go home to change his pants. And so
I think his face was beet red.
yeah, so we figured out that that's what happened, and he did admit to it. So,
and one day, Jane and I, Star Uniform was there. Remember, Jane? And we went downstairs to get some uniforms. And she had gone into, there was a restroom there. She had gone into the restroom ahead of me, and so I picked up my things and I went and knocked on the door. I said, Jane, it's me, come out, let me in so I can try on my clothes. And she didn't answer. And about a minute later, I'm still standing out there, and this lady comes out and looks at me like, I'm not Jane. And I thought, well, where is Jane? And I thought, oh no, there was a men's bathroom next to the women's bathroom. So I thought, I'm just gonna try and knock on that door. So I knocked on the door. Sure enough, Jane was in there. And didn't you wonder if you were in the right bathroom?
well, I thought something was wrong because the mirror wasn't in the right place, and so we got a good laugh out of it.
I laughed
Yes.
so hard.
We were like doubled over downstairs in the basement, just dying laughing, and poor Pat.
I laughed so hard that I wet my pants. So I said to Jane, I'm gonna go home nobody will miss me. I'll just run home quick and change my pants and I'll be back.
And she said, the last thing she said is, don't you tell a soul. So lo and behold, I marched up those steps and told everybody that I could see.
I'm
Dr.
sure she
Miller
did.
was in on it, and he took over, and he put disposable changing pads on her phone nurse chair. He had a catheter bag hanging, and we waited for her to come back. And she was probably pretty appalled by all of us.
I
That
was.
did that.
I couldn't
But
believe it when
it
I
was
did
a
that.
fun day. It
Yeah.
was. We had a good day, and I don't even know, did we ever buy uniforms that day?
I don't remember.
I don't think we did.
I think I had to go home quickly. Forgot about that. So
And another thing that happened was that at one point in time we wore lab coats that had hoods on the back of them. They were kind of a popular time. Didn't last very long as far as popularity, but we wore them. And every night at home, you would take it off, and all of a sudden, all these paper clips would fall out of the hood. And
one time I think I had 10 paper clips in
yeah.
mine.
Do you have any clue how those paper clips got in
Dr.
there?
Miller did it. You know it did.
Oh.
And one time I was sideways and he was over here and he threw a peanut and it went into my ear. We were both so flabbergasted.
Yeah.
We just looked at each other like, did that really happen?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just...
He's thrown popcorn, he's shot rubber bands. I mean, I tell you,
He was always
we
full
had
of
some good
something.
times. But last but not least, you all know that Dr. Miller made work fun. And he was just a blessing to have at work. And being the wonderful Christian man he is, God has always been first, and his family and friends second in his life. He truly has a servant heart and will be missed by all his patients and staff. God's blessings, Dr. Miller, in your retirement to you and your family.
And when I retired in 2014, Bonnie made this beautiful quilt for me, and she and Doctor put notes and poems on it. And I just have a part that I want to read back to them that I think is very appropriate. It said, "What a gift from the Lord you have been all these 31 years to me, and to be 37 to Dr. Miller. From beginning to end, through the rough and the smooth, we treasure your presence in our practice and in our lives. Your skills and your heart have been blessed for so many." And, you know, as the years have gone on, Doctor, I've realized that when you had Ebenezer on your license plates, that you were definitely the solid rock in the office. And I appreciate that so much, and I wanted to thank you for being that solid rock in our office. And
We love
we
you,
love you, Dr. Miller, and we hope you have a long and blessed retirement.
Dave, congratulations on your retirement, and thanks for the many years of service and dedication to your patients and our practice. Sorry I can't be there with you today, but I guess in 2020 this is probably a fitting way to deliver this message. And Bonnie, congratulations as well, I guess. I know it's probably only been a couple months now, and if things aren't quite working out as well having Dave home, I think I have a great opportunity coming up for him to kind of dip his toe back in the water, so to speak, if he's interested. I know one of Dave's passions more than anything else in medicine is electronic medical records, and I'm sure he's probably aware that the hospital, both Broman and Eureka, are going to be transitioning their medical record systems in early 2021. I know this is a great opportunity for Dave to get back into doing something he would like. It Probably the best part is that it's not happening over the holiday season, so that's a plus. With Dave's expertise, I think he's probably what we would call somewhat of a subject matter excellent expert, and maybe even, dare I say, a super user. Dave, this is a great opportunity for you to kind of get back in if you're not thinking retirement's what it's been. That is, unless you have anything better to do, say like pull your toenails off with pliers and soak them in lemon juice. But seriously, thanks for your many years of service. I know, speaking with many of your patients since you've retired, they appreciate all the years and the tireless effort you gave. I think you represent, not just as a physician, but as an individual, a amazing example of how to live your life, not compromising your principles or your faith. And finally, I would just like to say thank you for the many years and, well, many hours throughout the years that you spent working on our call schedule, only to have someone, probably more often recently, me than others, stop by and say, "Hey, Dave, can you switch my weekends or give me this day off so I can go watch my kid run," or some other excuse. But thank you again for your time and service. We appreciate everything you did for the hospital and our practice, and enjoy your retirement.
Hello, Dave and Bonnie and everybody else in attendance this evening. I wanted to extend my apologies, my sincere apologies for not being able to be at the event this evening. I turned 50 on July 1st and decided that I needed to walk the walk and talk the talk on certain things that I was dealing with medically. And so anyway, I'll keep it short and just say I've got a procedure coming up tomorrow, and I've had to go in quarantine basically since Friday morning for that particular event. So anyway, I wanted just to extend my sincere and heartfelt congratulations to you regarding your retirement and regarding just the unbelievable amount of time and service and I would say probably blood, sweat, and tears that you shed for the 3 decades that you were as a physician in this community. I understand what the job is like. I understand how tough it can be. And certainly the grind of it can be difficult. But you managed it well, and certainly no one deserves retirement and a heartfelt, happy retirement than you do. So again, my sincere congratulations to you about that. I truly wanted to thank you for being such a marvelous and wonderful partner for all of the years that I practiced with you. I guess it was close to 19 years. Your attention to detail with patients has been certainly appreciated. In those that I've inherited, in particularly in the nursing home situations, but even in the office, I've inherited a few patients, and your attention to detail is wonderful, and made it easy for me. I never worried about leaving patients or checking out to you about patients or having you cover. It was never an issue, obviously, and that was always wonderful. to have that is such a blessing and makes it so much easier, particularly when you're away. And I never worried about that. I also appreciate that you were always there to help me when I needed it, any questions I might have, particularly early on in my career, where that learning curve is huge and steep. And you always had excellent advice for me about patience and what I should do or not do. And you were always there to, if I had a weird rash or something. I think I remember I had a shingles situation once, and I wasn't sure if it was or it wasn't, and you came into the room and confirmed that it was. So you were always compassionate with your patients and compassionate with the staff around you. That I appreciated that. I saw that at times, especially with Kathy and some of the nurses that were around you, just really cared about their situation. And that was such a positive thing. So appreciate that. I also, wanted to thank you for just having our backs professionally in the office. Lots of changes, obviously, that we went through over those years, whether it was joining Advocate and contracts and compensation and clinical integration and all these just things. You were always there with an opinion. You definitely always had our best interests on everything, and that was huge. I appreciated that very much, very much. Your sense of humor, I think, is unparalleled. And I think that's one aspect that I always wish would have come out more over the years. I always say there is nothing as sharp as the wit of Dr. David Miller, not by any means. And you also make a wonderful Scrooge, by the way. The night that you dressed up as Scrooge at one of those Christmas parties at your place, that was classic. And that image is burned into my brain forever. So, periodically, you'd poke your head around the corner and commiserate with me about, some horrible pitching mistake the Cardinals made, or the awfulness of Illinois football, the total misery of Illinois football. I always appreciated that. So one of my favorite memories, though, is in 2006 when the Cardinals won the World Series, and just out of the blue, phone rings. And it's you called, and just to say, hey, congratulations, we won, and it was really cool. And I still remember that. I will always remember that. So anyway, I've talked for too long. I thought it'd be 5 minutes, pretty close to that. Thank you again. Sincere congratulations. Enjoy yourself. You deserve it. Have a good night.
Ready? Dr. Miller, it's hard to summarize 15 years of working together in a few short words when so many things intertwined to make us the team we became. We worked hard together as that team to meet our patients' needs, but fun and laughter were also a part of our days. We would be seriously working along when Dr. Miller would come up with a one-liner that would make us all burst out in laughter. I appreciated your Christian example and kind, gentle spirit. your prayers and concern when I wasn't feeling well, and patience when I was as slow as a snail at work, when I was dizzy, showed that spirit that was so gentle and kind. Your thank you at the end of each day meant a lot to me and showed your appreciation. The patients' comments in the last weeks showed how much you meant to them, not only as their physician, but also as their friend. They hated to see you retire. You have touched so many lives in your 37 years of practice, but that won't end with your retirement. You will continue to influence lives through your Ebenezer ministry. It was a joy and blessing to work with you, Dr. Miller, and I wish you the best in your retirement. I miss you.
Action. Could you sign this for me, Dr. Miller?
Scram! They just pay you to stand there and act like you're working?
Dr. Miller.
Aye.
Morning, Dr. Miller. How are you?
Thanks, I'm good.
Okay, she's gone, Dr. Miller. Whew, what a day. Dr. Miller?
You think we should put it in Jessica's room? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think so too. She got cheese it on.
There's all kinds of snacks up in there.
I know. I don't know how she stays so skinny.
Me neither. She eats like crazy.
I think I need a snack.
Oh, ask Jessica. She always has a ton of snacks.
Does she,
You know,
Jessica?
her drawer is always full of stuff.
Do you have a snack in your drawer?
Yeah. Are you hungry?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Want some Cheez-Its?
Yeah, those sound good.
Okay. Well, do you want me to get you like a cup?
No, I just want a little bit, so.
No, well, I'm not gonna like touch it.
Well,
Like,
you can just dump
no,
some on a napkin.
No, I'm gonna get you a cup. I'll be right back. Dr. Miller.
Dr. Miller, what do you think about Kathy making popcorn today? Doesn't that
Oh, yeah, she should.
sound good, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, popcorn's ready.
Oh, look at that.
Enjoy.
You think I can make you some packaged?
What's the matter, Jackie?
Do you hear that sound?
Not really.
What room am I going to?
11.
Dr. Miller.
Okay, what's up with the shades?
The glare off the top of your head, I just couldn't.
All right, truce.
Man, listen to that rain out there. It's really coming down.
Wow, it sure is.
Yeah, Kathy, can you go roll my windows up in my truck?
Dr. Miller.
Kathy, did you put my soda in the fridge?
I forgot to put your soda in the fridge. I'll go get you some ice.
You're fired.
Oh. I brought it with ice this time.
Okay. Dr. Miller, I'm rocking it as you.
Dr. Miller, there's nobody left here to play pranks on us anymore.
Happy retirement! We miss you!
Good evening, Dave and Bonnie and your family and everyone that's there tonight. I'm really sorry that Cindy and I are not able to be there in person tonight, but this presentation would probably be a little bit different if we were actually there. But had a lot of time this week to think about Dave and our friendship and all the connections we've had over the last 30 plus years. Here in Eureka at the church and so forth. And so I thought I'd give an illustration for you to kind of remind you of some of Dave's life and then how I intersected with that in various times in my life. So if you know Dave very well at all, you know that Dave does not like to wear anything that says anything on it. He's a big fan of sports teams and such, but he never wears jerseys or hats or t-shirts or polos or anything that says anything on there. It's always just blank shirts. And so what I thought I'd do is I would illustrate some of our connections with shirts that said something on them, since Dave doesn't do that. So as you can see, the first one is Olivet Nazarene University, which of course is where Dave did his undergraduate study. And our boys, Jason and Ben, were roommates there together. And there have been a couple of times when Dave and I have gone up to Olivet for various reasons. And I remember one time when we were together with Dave and Bonnie and we were driving around the campus and waiting, I think, to get in the gym or something. And they showed us the parking lot where they had their first kiss at Olivet Nazarene University. Yes, that's right. I don't know how many of you have seen that, but I know where it is. If you want to take me up there, I can show you the spot. But anyway, I thought that was pretty bold for Dave to share that with us at that time we were there together with them, with Dave and Bonnie. That was a lot of fun. So that's really the only intersect that we have there other than our boys at Olivet. So the next one where there would have been an intersect would have been, of course, Illinois, the University of Illinois. This is where Dave... of course, you all know this is where he did his medical school studies to become a doctor. And when I came to town here, Dave became my doctor and my family's doctor. And so there's just a multitude of stories I could tell about Dave in the doctor's office. But I really respect him as a physician. He just always seemed to know what to do, what to give you, so forth. And so I just cherry picked a couple of stories that I'll never forget. One was kind of recent. The other one goes back many, many years. But Dave was he's an old school guy, and he just when you think you really know Dave, he'll just pop into your house for a house call when you're not feeling well or something to see how you're doing because he's concerned. And he took care of us many times, not in the office, just on an emergency basis. And I remember one night we were at Hardee's on Sunday nights. You remember those nights we'd go there on Sunday nights after church. And that was when our church was really small down in the shopping center. We did that for a long time. And the kids would play on that playground out front that no longer exists. And one night, Ben ran backwards up through that little tube slide in the playground, and he busted his head open right on top of his head. And kids came running in, oh, Ben's bleeding, Ben's bleeding. And I said, well, let's go in the bathroom and let's look at it and see how bad it is. So I went in the bathroom and kind of looked at the top of his scalp, and it was all bloody, and there was a big gash on top of his head. And so here comes Dave into the bathroom, into the men's bathroom at Hardee's. Now, that's not unusual, going into the men's bathroom at Hardee's. But Dave was eating a cheeseburger while he was coming into the bathroom at Hardee's. So, I mean, I've never eaten food that's been in a public restroom, number one, but Dave's eating his cheeseburger while I'm looking at Ben's head. Dave looks at his head and goes, yep, he probably needs some stitches. And so Dave finished his cheeseburger, and we went down to the office on a Sunday night, and Dave stitched him up down at the office. I thought that was pretty comical at the time. It still makes me smile when I think about Dave eating that cheeseburger in the Hardee's bathroom. The other time was just recently, back last spring when COVID began, and I developed a food rash from something, still don't know what it's from, but I had hives over a lot of my body, and I was taking, I don't know, some prednisone or something for that. It just wasn't cutting, and I had these hives everywhere on my body. And I called Dave. They were kind of getting around my face and around my mouth, and this was Saturday night, and it was probably about 11 o'clock, and Dave came over. He came over, and I kind of remember he was wearing pajama pants, I think, when he came in the door of our house, and pajama pants and his winter coat, and he was going to make arrangements for me to go up to the hospital. He brought me some more prednisone, and he just looked at me and he said, with all of his doctoral wisdom, he said, yep, those are hives. And but anyway, he paved the way for me to get in and out of the ER pretty fast that night, since COVID had already begun. That was kind of just a challenge to do that, but he kind of cut the red tape, got me in and out, got me a shot, and actually, believe it or not, I was preaching the next morning. This is kind of bizarre. So that's a couple of stories of the medical world of Dave Miller with our family. There's a lot more, but I don't want to waste any more time here. So the next shirt I have here is the Eureka Hornets shirt. Our families, of course, are both from Eureka. Our kids played Eureka sports. We're big Eureka sports fans. And Dave didn't get to go to a lot of games because of his service and sacrifice for our community many times, as being a physician. And I just want to thank him for that, for his willingness to sacrifice a lot of his family to serve us as a community, and Bonnie as well. And so I just wanted to thank him for that. And just as a reminder that he's a Eureka Hornet, and just like we all are that live in this town, and our kids grew up here and graduated from this school. And so thank you for your sacrifice and service there, Dave. Getting really hot. We got to keep moving here. Okay, this is the last one. Liberty Bible Church, Dave. That's where our lives together started. Was at Liberty Bible Church. Dave was serving there when I came to this church 32 years ago. Not a lot of people in our church today were here 32 years ago, but the Millers were one of them. And Dave has been a faithful servant there over the years in many different ways. He has served as a Sunday school teacher, but probably more importantly, he served as an elder and as a person that supported me and encouraged me when times were really challenging, and did it in a very quiet and dignified way that he served. Dave was never the loudest person in a meeting, but when Dave spoke, people listened because he generally said something pretty meaningful and something that we needed to listen to. And he's really one that is kind of has mastered Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 2. Let me see if I can find it here. Do not be rash with your mouth, and let not your heart utter anything hastily before God. For God is in heaven, and you on earth. Therefore let your words be few. Dave has been one that's words were few, but very impactful, solid, supportive. I can say with certainty that if it wasn't for Dave and his faithfulness to the Lord, I would not be the pastor at that church. And he'll always mean a lot to me. I wish I could be there tonight, Dave. But you know I'm not. And my heart's there. And you'll have this that you can hopefully keep and watch in the future. I love you, man.